continues to indicate the fact that people want to see criminals, illegal criminals, out of the country.
Yeah, regardless of party. Great point. Richard McCormick is here, Georgia Congressman, on that. Congressman, you can react to that if you will. Just one of the View co-hosts putting out there that, hey, this is where we get flowers from.
Totally out of touch with the people, just like you said. When they consider a massive amount of crime, when you consider 100,000 plus people dying of fentanyl overdoses that came from the southern border, when you consider the crime, when you consider the burden on the American taxpayers, I tell you another great start. I mean, 2,700 sounds like a lot, but we have over 10 million people just in the last 4 years that came here. 10 million, 2 million of which we have no idea who they are or what their plans are because we didn't document them, we didn't catch them, they got away. We know there are a record number of terrorists that come across the border. We know that people have been killed in drunk driving incidences from illegal immigrants. And I know the Lake and Riley Act is really needed, and I'm glad we're doing it, but it's a little late, quite frankly, because we've had this problem for a very long time.
Could be one of the first laws that President Trump signs, by the way, so we'll be watching when that might happen. Incredibly timely, as we know. The Vice President, J.D. Vance, was on Face the Nation yesterday, where he clashed with CBS News anchor Margaret Brennan over a number of things. This one on birthright citizenship. Here's that.
Well, this is a country founded by immigrants.
Well, this is a country founded by... This is a very unique country, and it was founded by some immigrants and some settlers. But just because we were founded by immigrants doesn't mean that 240 years later that we have to have the dumbest immigration policy in the world.
Congressman, does the vice president have a point there?
Absolutely. I've been talking about this since 1990. I remember when I got my first commission in the Marine Corps, and I was talking to somebody who was on Congressman DeFazio's staff. That's how long ago this was. And I was like, why do we give citizenship to people who broke the law to get in here in the first place? She said, well, that's the Constitution. I said, well, aren't we smart enough to make laws that benefit the American people and actually guard us from taking advantage of us? And she just kind of scoffed at it. But this has been the attitude all along. We are a nation of laws, but we are laws that make sense to us. The Founding Fathers never intended millions of people to come across the border and have anchor babies. The Founding Fathers never intended people to come here and force their way into our society without our approval. And that goes for our Founding Fathers the way we came here. I understand that we came here and claimed a land that maybe belonged to the American natives. I get all that. But that's history that's not going to be undone. What we have is a bright future if we do this the right way.
Congressman, we spoke on this show for several years, even through COVID-19, and news was made over the weekend. John Ratcliffe heading up now the CIA. He now put out that the CIA, that department specifically, backing the lab leak theory versus the wet market in Wuhan. Just thoughts on that and how big that story is.
Yeah, we had hearings on this all year last year. I was on the COVID committee, obviously. I'm an ER doc. I was on the front lines of the pandemic for 2 years, serving night shifts, and from the beginning to the end. I know darn well anybody who studies epidemiology and how diseases start and where they go, they don't just disappear. They never found that. China tested hundreds of thousands of animals. They couldn't find anything. They couldn't find a reservoir because most diseases and viruses don't cross over. You know, you have swine flu, you have avian flu, but they're very rare. This one didn't come from an animal reservoir. It didn't come from the wet market. We know that Wuhan was doing advanced technologies on advanced function, and we know that that's where it came from. It's obvious. It's deductive reasoning. When you have people who are studying this stuff disappear, when they won't let you have access to their records, you know they're covering up. It's obvious where this came from. It was the epicenter of the disease. This should come as no surprise to anyone.
Yeah. Common sense over conspiracy theories. Let's bring that back. Congressman Rich McCormick, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Always a pleasure. Thanks.
Thanks.